What happens when a game's greatest strength becomes its biggest weakness? Atlas Fallen: Reign of Sand is a gorgeous action RPG with some truly remarkable art direction. The more I explored its world, however, the more I found myself questioning the story it was trying to tell. Welcome back to the Asari Gamer, where we explore the art of video games one game at a time. As always, we'll look at this game through the lens of storytelling, world building, visual design, audio and atmosphere, and personal enjoyment. Atlas Fallen has a storytelling problem, and it's a strange one. Throughout the game, we're told that the world is dying, the land is being stripped of its essence, civilization is collapsing, and we're supposed to believe we're witnessing a slow-moving catastrophe.
It is desolate.
Yes, this is what a land drained of essence looks like.
The problem is that the world is absolutely gorgeous. From towering monuments to vibrant sunsets and sprawling landscapes, Atlas Fallen's art direction is so strong that I eventually stopped believing the story it was trying to tell. That's not to say the narrative is terrible. We play as an unnamed, attempting to challenge gods, uncover ancient secrets, and save the world. The plot moves along at a reasonable pace, but most of its twists are fairly predictable and the characters never become particularly memorable. The weakness isn't in the writing, it's that the world itself keeps arguing with it. The world building absolutely won me over. Long before characters explain what happened to this world, the landscape is already giving us clues. Massive rock formations show signs of erosion from rivers that no longer exist. Past settlements are buried in the sand. Mining tunnels snake through areas where people continued extracting essence long after it became dangerous to do so. The world feels lived in, and more importantly, it feels old. My favorite example is the Watcher. No matter where you are, the world seems designed to remind you of his presence. Mountain pillars always point towards him, and somehow, regardless of your position, he always seems to be looking directly at you. Creepy. It creates the unsettling feeling that the landscape itself has been shaped around his influence. Atlas Fallen rarely stopped me to explain its history. Yes, there are journal entries, but instead, I found the environment itself encouraged me to read it, like an archaeological site, piecing together the story through ruins, geography, and the scars left behind by centuries of essence extraction. Visual design is Atlas Fallen's strongest category by far. The creature design immediately caught my attention. Many of the wraiths appear inspired by real-world desert animals, like the Australian thorny devil. Their silhouettes, armor plating, spikes, and movement patterns make them feel like a natural part of the ecosystem rather than generic fantasy monsters. That same attention to visual cohesion extends throughout the world. The architecture, creatures, and landscapes all share similar shapes and textures, creating the feeling that everything evolved from the same environment. This game also understands the importance of scale. Massive monuments dominate the horizon. Ancient structures emerge from the sand, and towering rock formations constantly remind us how small we are within this world. At one point, I climbed high enough into the landscape that my stomach clenched. I know that's ridiculous. I'm sitting safely on my couch, but the sense of height felt real. Looking out across the world from those elevated vantage points gave me a genuine appreciation for the scale of the environment and the artistry behind it. The game's color palette isn't slouching either. Warm golds and oranges contrast beautifully against cool blues and purples, creating landscapes that are often breathtaking to look at. We've discussed contrasting colors before in Star Wars Outlaws, and both of these games are extremely knowledgeable when it comes to color design. Unfortunately, this is where Atlas Fallen creates its biggest problem. The world is so visually appealing that it becomes difficult to believe we're witnessing an ecological disaster. I spent much of the game admiring the scenery rather than mourning what had been lost. Atlas Fallen takes a restrained approach to audio, and I think it's the right decision. Much of the game is surprisingly quiet, allowing the environment to do most of the work. As I explored the desert, I was often accompanied by little more than the sound of wind, distant animal calls, and shifting sand, which helped the world feel immersive. Rather than competing for attention, the audio reinforces the atmosphere the artists have already established. When the music does appear, it serves a purpose. Battle themes swell during combat, important story moments receive stings, and key discoveries are given the sense of importance they deserve. It's not a soundtrack that's memorable because it's not supposed to be. Instead, it consistently supported the experience without becoming repetitive or distracting. I genuinely enjoyed my time with Atlas Fallen. Exploring the world was rewarding, especially during the first half of the game. Every new region seemed to offer another fascinating landscape, another massive landmark on the horizon, or even a completely sunken palace. Unfortunately, the final area created a problem I wasn't expecting. Throughout the game, Atlas Fallen tells us that the extraction of essence is destroying the world. Then, in the final region, we're shown the result. And it's kind of beautiful. At one point, Niall explains that this is what happens when all the essence is gone. But instead of seeing a dead world, I saw thriving wildlife, stunning sunsets, and vibrant colors. Yeah, there's a swamp, but that doesn't mean desolation. In that moment, I was completely pulled out of the story. The game wanted me to see a tragedy. Instead, I saw life finding a way. Had the final region been harsh or genuinely unsettling, I think the story's central message would have landed much more effectively. But I found myself admiring the scenery and wondering whether the world would be better off if left alone. Even so, I enjoyed exploring Atlas Fallen from beginning to end, and the strength of its visual design carried me through many of its weaker moments. Atlas Fallen Reign of Sand receives 3 out of 5 stars for me. While the story never fully came together, the world building, visual design, and audio and atmosphere are genuinely impressive. From its creature designs to its environmental storytelling, this game is filled with artistic choices that reward players willing to slow down and look around. Ironically, the game's greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. The world is so beautiful that I eventually stopped believing it was dying. It was merely adapting. As always, I'm the Asari Gamer, and remember, art is not optional, it's essential. If you enjoy thoughtful looks at the art and design of video games, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join me next time as we explore another world through the lens of art.